Look at the weather.
It's beautiful here.
Non-stop rain.
Oh, man, it is a blazer out there.
It's cold and it's shivery.
It is cold.
Really coming down here.
I really enjoy your weather reports.
From the All Indiana Podcast Network, we're talking weather in a whole new way. From historical events to what's coming up, plus weather news, science, safety, fun facts, and more.
I like where this is going.
This is Weather Weekly. Weather Weekly with Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey.
Weather Weekly, it is episode number 57 here, and we are recording this on a Wednesday, March 9th, and sadly, or maybe some of you are happy about it, but I think there's a lot of us, especially after coming off a weekend of record-breaking temperatures last Saturday. We're doing another special Snow Talk episode. We've got another winter system heading our way. I will say this doesn't look like it's a blockbuster storm, but it is going to be maybe leading to some accumulation by the end of the week. So we're getting back in the Snow Talk form. We're also talking about some really, really cold temperatures to follow as we head into the weekend. That's coming up next here on Weather Weekly.
Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. When it comes to what kind of romance you're into, you don't have to choose just one. Fancy a dalliance with a duke, or maybe a steamy billionaire. You could find a book boyfriend in the city and another one tearing it up on the hockey field. And if nothing on this earth satisfies, you can always find love in another realm. Discover modern rom-coms from authors like Lily Chu and Ali Hazelwood, the latest Romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, plus Regency favorites like Bridgerton and Outlander. And of course, all the really steamy stuff. Your first great love story is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
Episode 57, it is Snow Talk again. This is an early March edition. Was hoping we weren't going to have to do this one, but Mother Nature has other plans. And look, we've talked about it how many times now in this podcast that March has provided us with some ample snow opportunities over the last several years. So we've got another shot coming our way. I'll go ahead, and I said this right before the break, but this doesn't seem like it's going to be a big system by any stretch. But still could be kind of a high impact system nonetheless. So let me kind of walk you through things. I've been kind of watching a few of the projections. I'll tell you, there's been a lot of good agreement here looking at some of these models, both from the European and the GFS. So the European and the American model both on timing and amounts as well. This time of year, it's difficult to sometimes get some hefty numbers. You have to have some really, really heavy snowfall because you're fighting several things. The ground's starting to warm up a little bit because we're starting to get some milder days. The ground's not completely thawed, but I mean, we're getting there. You've had some of these fluctuations, bigger fluctuations in temperatures. We're coming off not near actual record-breaking highs. Last Saturday, we hit 77. That was two better than the old record, I think, set back in 1956. So you've got some big swings here. And you're going to notice that here coming up, even though kind of a lot of this week has been on the chilly side with numbers into the 40s. You're even going to see a more significant drop in the wake of this system. So let's talk timetable here. And we haven't really gotten to the point yet in the forecast period where we're able to get some of the higher resolution data on board as of yet. So we can't get, say the NAM in, which has a little bit of a higher resolution. But we'll start to kind of tap into that later tonight, and certainly as we go through the day tomorrow. So judging from at least both the European and the GFS, and even in our in-house model, Barron is our provider for our weather data that we show on air, and they actually have their own 15-kilometer resolution data that can take us out that far. The timing has been pretty sound on all three of them, and meaning that they're all very much in agreement. The thinking is probably by very late Thursday night, more so early Friday morning, after daybreak, or after midnight rather, we'll start to see some snow bands arriving fairly light into northern and northwestern Indiana. And then basically this band is going to start sagging to the south. Now, there's still some questions that we need to iron out. Is this initially going to start off as maybe a mixture of rain and sleet and snow? Is it going to initially just start off as rain? We still have to kind of iron that detail out, but we do expect that we're going to see a full-on changeover to snow once we start, especially riding into Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Friday late night, and then snow should start to kind of wind down from north and west to south and east during the overnight hours, Friday night heading into Saturday morning. So much so that I think once we kind of start rolling into your Friday morning, most of the steady snow will be out. There'll be some lake effect snow bands that kind of come in, and that could add a little bit of accumulation, but I don't think anything of real significance here to speak of. So I don't... I know we're not super far out, but we're far enough out that the confidence is lacking in terms of amounts. So what I typically like to do, and if you follow me on social media, you will have seen the graphic that I posted for the probabilities of snow. And so what we use is ensembles, okay? Ensembles are basically using kind of a suite of model runs and then kind of pinning them all together. It does a little better more toward trends than specifics, if that makes any sense. So that said, there's a pretty high probability, and when I say high probability, 90% to 100% probability, so greater than 90% of at least 1 inch of snowfall with this system, basically extending from, trying to find a good boundary line here. Let's say a line, if you want to draw a line from Muncie to the south side of Indianapolis to Bloomington to Vincennes, and points south and east, is a 90% or higher probability of 1 inch of snow or higher. You start getting into the next range of 80 to 90% for the northern metro counties. That extends basically up toward Kokomo, Tipton, Madison County. So that's Anderson. Even up around Fort Wayne, South Bend, you're included in that. It gets a little bit lesser, 50 to 60% when you get into western and northwestern Indiana, okay? And again, that is for exceeding 1 inch of snowfall in probability. There's a pretty significant drop-off when we move up to the next scale, which is 3 inches or higher. Southeastern Indiana, so we're talking about Fayette, Union, Franklin, Ripley counties, in the range of 50 to 60%. So there's a pretty steep drop-off. The entire metro area is more in a 20 to 30% chance of exceeding 3 inches of snow. So what that tells me is, you know, if you're really forcing me to do kind of a quick forecast, we've got a much greater chance of seeing a 1 to 2 inch snowfall as opposed to 3 or more in the metro area. Okay. You may see some higher amounts, maybe closer to Cincinnati. You could include Richmond in that possibly, but it looks like the higher amounts are probably going to be in southeastern portions of the state. 6 inches of snow or more, not happening in the state. It hasn't even registered. So again, not going to be a blockbuster system here. There are chances with this storm, pretty high probability of seeing 6 inches or more in northern Pennsylvania, parts of upstate New York. This is going to be a much more potent system for New England, the Northeast. This is going to get really wound up. It's going to really pull in much colder air and a lot of moisture. So there could be some areas in New England that could see close to a foot of snow. Don't think that's going to happen here. My concern right now is probably going to be more so the timing, because the snow, when it fully transitions to all snow, I think could be pretty heavy at times. Really kind of picks up steam mid to late afternoon, and that will be during the heart of the evening drive. Okay, so that's one part of the story. The next part of the story is this really big shift in temperatures heading into the weekend. So let me move to that here. I'm kind of walking along. So the European model is going to put us with lows Saturday morning into the teens. Specifically, the European has us with a low of 16 in Indianapolis. The wind chill values could be into the low single digits, so there could be some areas near zero. I think we do the same thing for Sunday morning. So we're going to have two really, really cold starts. Maybe not, well, I mean, still, apparent temperatures or wind chill values are still registering into the mid to low single digits, maybe close to zero. I think maybe some areas that if you do get a little bit of a snowpack on the ground from Friday and some of it doesn't melt off on Saturday, that could yank down the temperatures even a bit more. I think Saturday morning is going to be the colder of the two mornings. Saturday's highs probably don't even get out of the 20s here. So not great. I know there are a lot of, just from my own experience, we're not starting the league officially, but there were a lot of baseball and softball leagues that were starting their evaluations and their tryouts. I know a lot of travel ball kids are now trying to get things going outside. Not going to be a great weekend for that, especially Saturday. Sunday may be a bit better. It's not going to be warm by any stretch, but we're warmer. We should see highs in the mid 40s for Sunday. So chilly weekend on tap, but there is better news in the extended, which we'll have after the break. So kind of a quick hitter here. Friday, snow. Saturday, bitter cold. Those are the two kind of headlines that we're looking at for this version of Snow Talk here. Again, not a big system. More concerned for the evening drive. Of course, it's regionals, I think, this weekend for boys basketball. So be aware of that if you're doing some traveling Friday night. Might be a little bit dicey, especially if you're maybe heading into the southern and southeastern portions of the state. We're getting to the time of year where, basketball is going to be taking you longer distances potentially. So make sure you're just staying weather-aware and updated with the forecast. You can do that, of course, Wish TV, wishtv.com. Storm Track 8 weather app has all the updates you need. And of course, we'll post updates on social media as well. As I mentioned, we have much better news in the extended forecast. I think 50s and 60s, not far away. We'll break that down in the forecast next here on Weather Weekly. Here's a look at your extended forecast for central Indiana. The rest of the week, we mentioned the snow that's going to be heading our way for Friday and the bitter cold to follow on Saturday. So we won't spend too much time on that. Here's the good news. There is going to be a warm up pretty quickly once we get past kind of the core of the cold on Saturday and really into Saturday night. You're still going to wake up to numbers into the teens. It looked like Sunday morning, but we do see a return of sunshine heading into Sunday. And our numbers should bounce back to the mid 40s. So any snow accumulation that we get likely melts pretty quickly. One, because we're above freezing on Sunday. Two, once you get into kind of the middle of March, you start to see kind of a higher sun angle, and that aids in helping to melt. If we don't melt all of it off by say Sunday, we're certainly going to get there through the first half of the new work week. Monday and Tuesday should be dry. I've got highs in the mid, maybe upper 50s, and I do see a return of 60-degree weather as we head into the middle of next week, next Wednesday. So this time next week. The 6 to 10 day outlook calls for a good chance for above average temperatures. In fact, it looks like kind of the long-term national blend of models that you've heard me talk about before on here, kind of the standard that we look at here blends all of the projections that we look at kind of together, kind of keeps us in that upper 50, low 60 range for much of the end of next week. We don't really go beyond that. The 8 to 14 day outlook calls for, again, a really strong signal for above average temperatures across much of the eastern half of the country. It also calls for above average precipitation chances across much of the Great Lakes region. That includes all of our state. I'll go ahead and add this in as well because we are getting to that time of year. If you are looking to head down south for spring break, it does appear in the 8 to 14 day places like Florida, anywhere in Florida, pretty pretty good shot for above average temperatures. Texas, near normal temperatures. If you're heading along the Gulf Coast, say Mississippi and into Alabama, maybe around the Gulf Shores area, again, pretty strong signal of at least slightly above average temperatures with near normal or below average precipitation. So that takes you to, let's see, this is the time frame of the 16th to the 22nd. So if you're heading down for spring break during that time frame, know a lot of districts are going to be well into their spring break by then, and you're heading south. Looks like you may have a good shot for some pretty nice temperatures down in that region along the Gulf Coast and the Atlantic. Same thing maybe if you're heading to the Carolinas or along Georgia. Looks like it's going to be pretty warm with a good strong signal for above average temperatures. It's going to do it for the podcast. Thanks for joining us on this special snow talk session. We're kind of seeing how things progress. We may end up doing another one here for Thursday, potentially for Friday as well. So make sure you're staying updated to that. Make sure you're staying safe, weather aware as well. Hard to believe we will be talking severe weather next week. Next week is Severe Weather Preparedness Week, which probably seems like a million miles away from now, considering we're talking about snow and bitter cold coming in this weekend. But it is around the corner, and we know how quickly things can change. We even had a tornado warning last weekend with some of the storms that arrived. It looked like early Sunday morning. So yeah, things can change pretty quickly here. We will keep you updated and love to hear your feedback. Shoot me an email, marcus.bailey@wishtv.com. You can also reach me on social media at Marcus Bailey, at Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, Marcus Bailey Weather. Make sure you also check out all the other great podcasts here, all part of the All Indiana Podcast Network.
Discover more from Storm Track 8 Weather and Wish TV. Online at wishtv.com and when you follow Wish TV on Facebook. Plus, be sure to check out more great podcasts from the All Indiana Podcast Network now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.